Level 6, scales. And in this lesson, we're going to combine our picking hand technique with the whole technique to perform scales. Make sure that you revisit the lessons on proper picking hand technique and the whole technique before moving on, because we're going to heavily rely upon those in this tutorial. So we'll be combining our alternate picking technique with the whole technique to perform this result. A scale. Now that's not a musical scale, but later on, that technique will be used to do things like this. That's more impressive. I don't want you to have to worry about memorizing patterns at this point. Right now, we got our hands full with just learning the technique. And so doing something like this is much easier to memorize, and we can get to work on the fundamentals of those techniques. And then it's easy to learn those patterns down the road once we've developed this technique. This exercise starts with a whole technique at the 5th fret. Make sure you play just behind the frets. Perfect technique. We covered all that in the previous lesson. Next, I want you to lightly lift fingers 2, 3, and 4 so that they are hovering over the E string just like that. They're not flying out like this. You want to keep them over their assigned frets and string. And then once you've got that, we can start the exercise. We're going to use alternate picking, and we'll start with a downstroke with the first finger pushed. You got to make sure that you push the string hard enough so that it touches the fret. That's what gives you the sound. And then we're going to do an upstroke with the second finger pushed, and then a downstroke with the third finger pushed, and then an upstroke with the fourth finger pushed. At this point, all 4 fingers are pushing the notes. So I don't want you doing one finger at a time. Right now, this is an exaggerated practice to get you to open that hand and assign 1 finger for each fret. Now on the return, we're going to lift the 4th finger and perform a downstroke with the 3rd finger pushed. And then we lift the 3rd finger and perform an upstroke with your 2nd finger pushed. And then we complete the cycle by lifting the 2nd finger and playing a downstroke with the 1st finger pushed. And so the whole cycle looks like this. And notice I kept my fingers over their assigned frets and string and maintained alternation through the entire exercise. This takes time to develop, so go slow and focus on quality. And once you get used to playing on the bottom string, you can move up to the B string. Continue up to the string G. Notice I'm pulling my elbow up so I can maintain the same angle of attack on my picking hand. And then the D string. The A string. And finally, the E string. And see how my thumb is peeping over the top here, and that's because I'm moving my thumb with the hand. We talked about this in the whole technique lesson in the previous level. If you keep your thumb locked, you're going to end up pulling your wrist out of whack. So you want to move your thumb with the rest of the hand. Also, as you run out of room here, you want to open the fingers up just slightly. Those of you with small hands, you may run out of room by the time you get here. You want to open the fingers. You don't want to bend the wrist. You want to open the fingers to reach the top strings. Now we're going to get out the metronome, and my goal for you is to be able to perform this exercise at 60 beats per minute and eventually up to 120 beats per minute. Nothing stabilizes technique like the use of a metronome. Much like athletes, we need numbers. We need real numbers to evaluate our progress. So when you see those numbers getting higher on the metronome, you know you're doing something right. And if they're not getting higher, then it could be a flaw in your technique or you're not practicing enough. But the metronome will definitely shed light on what is happening with your practice. 60 beats per minute, this is how your exercise is going to look and sound with 4 repetitions on the bottom E string. I'll give a 4 count and begin. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Once you've mastered the first string, then you can work the same drill on the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth strings. So you'll have all 6 strings at 60 beats per minute. Now your ultimate goal is to have them all at 120 beats per minute. And just to show you what that's going to look like, I'll do the same exercise at 120 beats per minute on all 6 strings. I'll give a 4 count and begin. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 'Now that was a pretty good workout. Now if you can't perform at 120 beats per minute, don't worry about that. Don't let that bother you. I'm more interested in quality than I am the speed. The speed will happen on its own if you do what you're supposed to do, and that's play with good, solid fundamentals. As your flexibility increases, you can work your way down towards the bottom part of the neck. And when I say the bottom part, I mean the low notes, this area here. And so with your ultimate goal being to perform that exercise at the first fret. It's a big stretch here. For some of us, this is a challenge. Notice the frets are really tight right up here. So those of us with larger hands may have trouble playing in these tiny frets. So I don't want you to limit yourself to just one position on the neck. Practice in various positions so that you can take advantage of the full guitar. Top-notch performers practice their scales daily, and that's because they work. They understand the value in maintaining and building their technique. For us, it's going to help us as we start to enter chords, and that's where we're pushing several notes at the same time. We need to master the art of pushing a single note before we push several notes. And so that's what we're going to be working towards as we learn our E minor chord in the next lesson. I'll see you there.